enjoy.
Okay. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for joining us on a Saturday morning. I hope I'm better than the food that is about to come. So that when your stomach makes noise, I hope you will tame that noise and stay on with me. So that's why the title of today's talk is Strike While the Iron is Hot. And the iron is probably at the maximum heat now for a while and should be cooling down pretty soon, because I'm a property agent licensed by the Council for Estate Agencies. I still have a valid license with the MAS for fund management, but I'm not with any company that requires that license now. So I'm duty bound to put up this slide that says that we have tried our best to prepare the information as accurately as possible, but in any case, I'm not soliciting any investments from you. Anything wrong is my fault. Okay, so today's agenda, I will explain first what is HDB Lease Buyback, what is the mechanism of the buyback, and then we discuss what you want to do with the extra money should you get onto this journey. And that's the part that Elijah will come give you a few suggestions of what you should do with the extra money. And then some of you may have questions about the difference between the buyback scheme versus downgrading, or such as what if I outlive the lease buyback scheme, or don't worry about taking photographs. Elijah and I are happy to share our slides with you, and also this is being recorded, so after this we will go post it up on YouTube and then you can share and watch it. I have tried explaining some of these HDB schemes to HDB owners before, but it is always a bit difficult. And so with your help, maybe we can explain to more people who may need it. So HDB Lease Buyback Scheme, this is the website that I asked you to take a look at. So if you email us or you contact your financial advisor or Elijah and we send this to you, even in PDF form, you'll be able to click the link. And you click the link, goes to the website and scroll down to read through the website. So basically what it is very simple. You stay in a Toa Payoh HDB flat that has expired 40 years. So the flat has about 60 years left on the lease. You are past 65 years old, both you and your spouse, who are owners of the property. So if one of your child is the owner of the flat and is below 65, not eligible. So if both the owners or the remaining owner is above 65, the flat is left with 60 years, you can elect to, let's say, sell 20 years of the 60 years away back to HDB. HDB will give you the cash. Okay, so let's hop out to the website now to look at how it works. I'll run you through HDB's example of how the numbers look like. So there are two separate web pages. The first web page is the parent web page on the lease buyback scheme. Just by Googling HDB Lease Buyback Scheme, then looking for the hdb.gov.sg link, you can click on the link easily. It's very easy to find this website. I guess because maybe 1 million people in Singapore has hit this website already, because property agents, family members, people who read it gets confused and cannot understand. Oh, no need lah. Yeah. Because my laptop yesterday went to hospital and it was not doing well with the USB port for 2 days. And then by the time I brought it to the technician, in the repair shop, everything worked. So the laptop is afraid of the technician. So it is confusing, and because everybody's home is a different home and every applicant is a different age, there is no formula for me to tell you how much your lease buyback scheme will get you in terms of cash and CPF top-up. And all of us have got different levels of CPF amounts anyway. So that's why this makes it a very difficult discussion to go on. It requires a property agent to tell you what HDB will do, and then a financial advisor to help you do the mathematics on how much of your money will go to your retirement account, how much goes to CPF Life, how much you might get in cash, and then what you do with your cash and your retirement account. And then every month how much extra CPF Life will pay back to you as your monthly drawdown. Okay, so multifaceted and definitely not clear because every one of us have a different situation. So when you scroll down this web page, gives you the eligibility. No need to take, we can email you. Eligibility conditions, and then how it works. So you click on this link, how it works, and then you get onto the next page, which is here. So this, we give you an example of how it can actually benefit a family. Okay, so there are some bonuses that you can get. The lease buyback scheme bonus is to encourage people to get onto the lease buyback scheme. This lease buyback scheme has been around for more than 10 years, and on average it is only 300 to 400 applicants and beneficiaries per year. So it is actually, it wasn't popular at all. And there are a few reasons. Later my slides will show you what are the reasons, and I think that we should get onto it now, because next few years will get even more popular again, and when it gets very popular, some of these bonuses might even be removed. So eligibility conditions: above 65, must have not more than 14,000 of household income. So meaning if you are retired and you are still sitting on board directorships and you are receiving payments as consultants and all that, you might not qualify as well. Then they explain what is paid into which account once you get the payout. So let's look at the example. So a couple, Mr. and Mrs. Lim, both at 65 years old, so that's the first, right after their 65th birthday, they qualify to apply, right? Both are Singapore citizens. The initial retirement account balance is 20,000 and wife is 5,000. And so they have a shortfall of their basic retirement sum. They need to top up this shortfall. Okay, so this is the amount that will not come to them in cash when HDB pays out after they sell a few years of lease back to HDB. So what are the numbers? So they sell 35 years of, be careful about the terminologies, 35 years of tail end lease to HDB. Later I will show you a chart to explain what is the difference between front end and tail end lease. Basically, the next 70 years of your property does not depreciate in a straight line. So if it depreciates in a curve, the front end valuation of the 35 years that you sell to HDB is different valuation from the tail end of the curve. And this is something that is not public information. So we are only guessing at what the curve looks like. So everything has to come from HDB. When they tell you, when you make an application and you go and see the HDB manager, they will give you the calculations and they will tell you what is is the amount that they will give you. And no arguments, no possibility for external real estate people to help you with the additional valuation, even if you ask for it. You can employ a professor of valuation from NUS Real Estate, they also won't be able to give you a better number. So you have to take it for what it is. So in this case, each owner is good. The 35 years that is being sold will get them 220,000 roughly, and each owner needs to top up their RA to the basic retirement account, which was already shown here. So before you go to see HDB to understand how much you can get back for selling the 35 years lease, you need to know what is in your CPF account. Then after that, HDB quotes you that you will get back the 220,000. So each of the owner equal share, they will get 109,000. But for each of them, the 109,000 will be used to pay up and top up his CPF basic sum and her CPF basic sum. Anything extra, then they can take up as cash. So whatever is used to top up your CPF means that in future, up till the day you pass on, the monthly payment from CPF Life will increase, which is good because you need the monthly payout to pay your utilities bills and for your regular expenses. But then you get a lump sum upfront, plus they will also receive lease buyback scheme bonus, because the bonus is paid out to people who top up the CPF. The criteria for calculating bonus is based on how much you top up CPF. So if husband and wife both were, say, career teachers, and for 40 years they taught, and then now they are retired, their CPF would already be at the max. And so when they sell out, they'll get the 220,000. There is no top up, they don't receive the bonus. So for those who do receive the bonus, it will be on top of that is cash bonus. So they get 7,500 cash. So lease buyback scheme cash proceeds for Mr. and Mrs. Lim in this example is 45,500. They have an additional cash bonus of 7,500. Their CPF life payout has increased to $1,100. Previously, before the top up, they were just getting, in fact, they were getting very little because Mr. Lim has 20,000 in retirement account. I mean, how much is in CPF Life?
Practically nothing.
Nothing.
Yeah.
Just more than 60.
So for this generation of retirees, actually we do, as a property agent, I also see some families who are in this situation because there are retirees today who, in the last 40 years of their productive working life, they were either odd job, daily rated, or they may be working for some very old Hui Guan or associations and old companies who are not very prompt or proper with their payment and in paying CPF. Some people who are daily cash paid sort of workers. And of course, this generation of retirees, many of the two spouses, one of them is a homemaker. So the homemaker's CPF is usually very, very low. And therefore, this lease buyback scheme would at least top up both of them to the same amount of retirement funds, and then the rest they can take out in cash. So for Mr. and Mrs. Lim, they have got 65 years, they sell away 35 years to HDB. Their HDB flat is now left with 30 years lease. In the entire block that they stay in, the entire block is left with 65 years lease. But they sold their flats leased for 35 years away to get this amount, and their next 30 years of their life, they will get this 1,100 per month. makes it a lot more comfortable. Of course, if you suffer one big bout of a major illness that costs you $30,000 in the hospital with operation and recuperation, then that's another drain on family expenses. So families still may have to help, but at least month by month, this is enough to get by, enough money to retire with dignity. When your nephew is getting a newborn 1 month celebration, you with 1,100 a month per person, you can still give an ang pao. You don't have to be shy that you don't have money to go and attend your family celebrations. This was a research project by the Wan Yew School of Public Policy. Professor Ng Kok Ho and Professor Teo Yu Yen wrote 2 reports talking about retirement with dignity, because some of them feel very shy and so they start to withdraw from society because the monthly cash flow is not enough for them to retire. So much for being the wealthiest per capita country in the world. We are still having such issues. We need to do more to take care of our, of course, because I am going towards my own retirement, I of course have to start championing to get better welfare for retirees.
And for presidency.
If the criteria is changed to 500 million rupiah, I am quite sure I'll be good. Okay, so this is the depreciation table that is for calculating how much is your 99. This chart is 99 years to 0 years. This is a fact. No need to ask questions, no need to argue. When you sign your memorandum of lease and agreement for lease with the HDB when you buy the flat, when you buy the flat, you didn't sign a purchase agreement, you signed 3 lease agreements. And in those lease agreements, it is very clear, HDB is the lessor, you are the lessee. But in the end, it is changed to you are the purchaser. So that's why the confusion about whether we really own HDB flats or not. But this is the 99-year chart of how land value will depreciate versus another piece of land that is freehold. Land compared to land, not my flat compared with your flat. You have a freehold condominium and compared to my 99 years leasehold condominium, even if the build quality is the same, the depreciation may not look like that. This depreciation is a very pure theoretical study, and Singapore Land Authority is using this chart called the Ballas table, or otherwise called Singapore Land Authority leasehold table, is to compare 99-year land versus freehold land. No additional, and the 99-year land should depreciate in this curve over time, whereas the freehold land will always maintain its land value. So if freehold land maintains at $100, the 99 leasehold land will start to depreciate this way. But as the freehold land rises in value to $105, $115, the 99-year land will depreciate versus that new valuation multiplied by this multiple. Because a rising tide will push up all ships, right? So in a rising tide, both 99 and freehold will go up, but the 99-year will be a discount to the freehold based on this table, depending on the age. Okay, so this is the theoretical basis for how government calculates, okay? And that's how land is, land pricing in Singapore is adjusted based on this. Then we adjust land valuation based on plot ratio. This piece of land got any impediments or not, such as an additional underground water pipe or that requires access from PUB, such as a road widening project that is coming up. There are certain areas in this piece of land that you can't build on. Then that's how you put a premium or discount the land valuation. But as the lease goes down, the initial part looks relatively flat. The final part looks like the drop becomes sharper and sharper. Okay, so this is the front end of the lease, this is the tail end of the lease. So right until now, I am still confused and unable to calculate when HDB Lease Buyback Scheme is based on, they will buy back from you based on tail end. They are not buying back from you based on front end. I'm uncertain how those numbers work. Whether it's to your favor, to my favor, or okay, but you using this word favor already is skewed. So
They should give you less like they want you to.
but again, remember this is theoretical, land on land. When you add the practical and reality, you will see that your HDB in terms of physical structure, the obsolescence and the deterioration of your concrete, your pipes, would also take the depreciation down even faster as it ages. Right? Based on this curve, actually, when they buy back the tail end from you, it is actually favorable. But the real curve actually shouldn't be like that. Okay, so no disagreements, right? It goes down to 0 at the end, right? The real curve, I tried to plot this together with my NUS student from the real estate department. We plotted this in 2017, yeah. In 2017, we took an actual 5-room flat resale price from Marine Parade, and this flat in Marine Parade was left with 56 years of lease. The transaction was $860,000. Of course, this flat today may be closer to $1 million, maybe. 2017 to now is 6 years. 6 years, this flat has gone to 50 years lease. So while the overall market, the curve has shifted up, this flat has aged even further. By aging even further up to here, whoever is the young people sitting in front, if you try to buy this flat that is left with 50 years, you will be severely restricted in terms of the CPF that you can use to buy this home because of just the purchase restrictions and the lending from the banks. Banks will only lend you until the property is left with 30 years of lease. So meaning, if you are buying this exact flat today, you can only borrow a maximum tenure of 20 years loan. So 20 years loan means that your monthly repayment is higher. And so younger people who just started out in their career, husband and wife, would normally not look at this type of older flats. And since there are fewer younger people interested to buy your old flat, the market size is smaller and smaller. And therefore, most of the people who are buying these $1 million flats, who are the downgraders, they downgraded because the children have already moved out. They have got a house that is worth $2.5 million. They sell the terrace house. They move into this at $1 million. They don't take a loan. So if there's no loan, then this depreciation curve doesn't apply. But then knowing that there are loan restrictions, based on what the banks can lend and how much you've got to pay the banks every month, as well as the CPF restrictions that kick in once the property is less than 30 years lease. So many young people wouldn't buy. So that's why this depreciation curve has got certain milestones where the steepness drops even further. And when the property is left with, the HDB flat is left with 20 years lease, from here, no loan, no CPF. And because there is no loan, no CPF, whoever buys it from you must pay all cash. So can you imagine somebody paying all cash, 180,000, this one I'm being generous with them, 180,000 all cash to use the last 20 years of your HDB. If you had 180,000 of cash, would you one shot pay up all and knowing that in 20 years time, but of course this is probably somebody who doesn't expect to outlive the property. But still, you have given one lump sum of cash, and this cash is a future payment for all of your 20 years rental. How many people would actually do this? And your 180,000 isn't growing within a fixed deposit or anywhere. Why don't you pay monthly rental of $1,000 for the next 20 years and keep the rest of your 170,000 in fixed deposit, right? So I'm being generous here to put this point at 180,000 as an estimate. So actually, this should be lower, right? So actually, back to the tail end, front end issue, the tail end is actually much cheaper. I think only. So this curve should be depressed here. The steepness of the drop here should be even steeper. The curve here should be depressed even more. So HDB is doing the lease buyback from you based on tail end, is because the tail end pays out less than the front end. Okay, so that's just my own observation from this logical step-by-step flow. Okay. This is the total stock of HDB that has ever been built and which years they were completed in. So in the 1960s, we built and completed 117,000 units. Most of the 1960s flats are gone already. Those in Brickworks, Yong, Queenstown, they have been torn down, partly because some of them are built with maybe poorer quality and quality control and standards. Some of them may have lead pipes, some of them may have some asbestos, so they have been torn down. The remaining ones, I think we still have probably some in Bukit Merah, maybe Commonwealth, and then of course there's the cluster in Tiong Bahru, the 3-story ones that are under conservation. Okay, and those are 1 million, 1.1 million. These ones are mainly still around 1970s and 1980s flats. The combined stock of 1970s and 1980s flats, 550,000 units. The 1970s, a 1973 flat today is 50 years old, right? Left with 49 years on the lease. A 1973 flat. A 1973 flat is left with 49 years on the lease. So Toa Payoh Lorong 1, Marine Parade, Circuit Road. Are you all familiar with all these places? Yeah. I'm so familiar with Singapore, but every time general elections come, there was one time I was driving, property agent, driving around Watten Estate, saw the sign with the faces, Kalang Momian GRC. Then the next election, Watten Estate became Holland Bukit Timah GRC, which is more correct. And then you have Marine Parade GRC that is in Braddell, where you go and try to market a property and then you suddenly see this is Braddell Estate, but yet we are in Marine Parade. Anyway, so 1973 flat, now left with 49 years on the lease. This is the part where we just now said that the steepness of the depreciation starts to drop very fast. A 1983 flat today is 40 years old, means it is left with 59 years on the lease, right? 40 years old left with 59 years on the lease, so it's about to approach the very steep drop already. But those 1970s flats are all approaching that steep drop today as we speak. So you think about the examples. For example, Clementi Avenue 1, you'll be around late 70s, early 80s. Tampines cluster around that famous round market, for example. And of course, Marine Parade. I'm not teaching you how to speculate on HDB SIRS program. But these are the correct indications. These are the indications that you want to look for if you want to see how old, whether there's a good chance for it to be SIRS or not. So I'm concerned about the 550,000. The total stock that we have today is 1.1 million, and out of the 1.1 million, 550,000, which is half of the stock, are more than 40 years old. Okay, so we are. This article was from 2018, and today, 5 years later, we seem to have forgotten that there was this discussion 5 years ago. This is the population data of Singapore from the year 2020. From the year 2023, because they do this every 5-year cohorts, I prefer to refresh this graph only after 2025 numbers are out, because of the 5-year banding that they use. We can update it every year, but then it wouldn't, the curve doesn't adjust very much. But what I want to say is, our average life expectancy is about 82 to 84 years old. So meaning when you reach 82, 84 years old, the median age of death is here, which means that if you are at 85 years old, there is half a chance between you and your classmates who are ex-classmates who are all 85 years old. There's half of you might disappear this year. That's just the statistic. This is a very big group of baby boomers, and they were the ones who enjoyed Singapore's growth, bought in their HDB for very inexpensive. But in the next 10 years, as they transition into this category and the life expectancy statistics hit, there will be many more people who are living in old HDB who would be bequeathing the property, the flat, to their children. What's the home ownership rate in Singapore? 90%. So what's the likelihood that if I pass away and I bequeath my flat to my children, that my children doesn't own anything? It's 10% chance, because 90% chance that they already own something, right? So will they want to take my old HDB flat? They will sell it in the open market. And you see that it depreciates. The older it is, the faster you will depreciate down, right? So over the next 10 to 15 years, as this group starts to move into here and then pass on, there will be a lot more old HDB flats coming out into the second-hand market for sale. Which is why today, with that high valuation in resale market, the lease buyback is a very good option to cash in on the high valuation now, because valuation of old flats would be pressured to go down further. This is just the monthly reported registered number of deaths. The green line is 2017, then the light blue line is 2018, the yellow line is 2019, then this gray line is 2020. So up to 2020 has been slightly growing, but relatively consistent. The growth is bit by bit. Then after that, 2020, COVID hit. And 2021, 2022. Whether it is due to additional illnesses or complications with vaccines, or due to economic conditions that were not so favorable, that people started to suffer, not sure, but there is, because of COVID, an additional number of deaths. And in fact, even if this simply maintained around here, by the year 20, maybe even before the year 2030, the total number of deaths will exceed the number of babies born in Singapore. So, going back to this chart, when the people here start to pass on and their flats get sold in the open market, it is this Generation Z group that in 10 years time will be the buyers of HDB flats. Firstly, they will not be looking at the older flats to buy because they can't max out the use of their CPF and bank loan if they buy a very old HDB flat. So they'll look for relatively young HDB flats, maybe at up to 20 years old. So this batch is much smaller and it takes two of them to buy one flat. Okay, but here, many of the baby boomers, in fact the silent gen, most of them are now one person left. So one person left is one unit of HDB, but here you need two persons to buy one unit of HDB flat. So there will be a excess supply situation that we have to be concerned about. This is a project group from SMU, the students who are studying data science, who worked with me for one of their modules project. And we tried to look at stats, population numbers, as well as the probability of births and deaths, and then number of people who are divorced, number of people who are single, widowed, and then we extrapolated how many will be selling their HDB flat upon the passing away of the second owner. Because when the first owner passes away, the HDB flat will still be used by the second owner. Only when the second owner passes away, then the HDB flat will be out for sale. So we expected in 2025, the upper and lower bound, this will be 2,400 at the minimum HDB flats that will be sold because of the passing away of the second person. And at the max, it may be 4,200. But of course, some families have already started to include the next generation person's name in the flat. In that case, that person will continue to use the flat. They don't need to sell out. Resale flats each year is about 20 to 25,000 units. So if this is true, and 2,400 units are in the resale market because of the death of the second owner, then this is 10% of the total stock of resale. There will be an impact if it is 10% on, because the children will just sell to split the cash, right? Then by 2030, by 2035, if you have got 4,000 units of resale out of 25,000 units of resale, and this 4,000 is due to the passing away of the second person, then the pressure, downward pressure on pricing will be high. And very likely these are the much older flats and not the 10-year-old flats. Okay? So be careful about that tsunami that is coming. And I was asked by editor to contribute this story because I don't know how many property agents and analysts out there actually track this taboo and pantang topic of people passing away, but I think we should be more open about discussing our end-of-life arrangements, such as wills and estate planning that Elijah is also very keen on. So I wrote up this article because I've also been marketing quite a lot of Japanese properties, and in Japan, they can be a bit pantang about it, but they actually also make it very transparent and scientific. They created a website for properties that have unnatural deaths. Where you pass away peacefully in your property, that one is considered happy. Everybody is. Japan is still mainly Buddhism and Taoism run country. So here, this was an article that resulted from somebody passing away in his home and his body was not discovered for 7 years. And he must have something good in him because the body didn't decompose, it just dried up, and in fact the windows were open, and it was discovered only because of our dengue situation, and the NEA officers went around knocking the doors to make sure that people were clearing up their water in the homes, right? And then they discovered that this property, they had to get the firemen to open up the door, and they found the dead body there. So such properties, easy to sell, easy to resell or not. That was what we were discussing. So to start to sum up, aging population, more than 50,000 people in Singapore will be celebrating 65th birthday every year now until 2040. Increase in demand for healthcare facilities. This would be what I would promote. More land should be released for healthcare, clinics, hospitals, old age homes. There will be increasing resale properties from inheritance. And by 2030, more than 500,000 HDB flats will be more than 40 years old. And this would have a pressure on valuations, as well as the increase in resale due to the inheritance will press prices down doubly, with additional pressure on them. So, I'm asking how many people who are young today will be the ones who will be buying from this very big batch of people who are passing on their properties in future. We are simply not giving birth enough to get people to come into the market to buy properties in future. So the editor and I also discussed, and we decided that we need to do a bit of public education on this. So I put up another article in Channel News Asia about now being the right time to take advantage of the lease buyback scheme, because HDB resale valuation is very high. So even a 5-room brand new, this is BTO that is supposed to be launched with discounts and taxpayer subsidies and all, 5-room flats are launched at 877,000. Can you imagine? At 28 or 30 years old, you are getting married, you go and apply for this, your family and relatives support you with 250,000, you and your spouse borrow the rest. And when you borrow the rest, 500,000 at 30 years old, both husband and wife, it means that you are drawing down every month almost full your CPF payment. So in 30 years time, when the couple from 30 years old becomes 60 years old, the early days they didn't build up the CPF, they didn't earn the 2.5% compounding. By the time they are at 65 years old, their CPF is paying them less, because they have used their early CPF money to pay interest rates, right? So this is the chart of what HDB resale prices have been. These are quarterly dots, and 2000, this was SARS, and after SARS we had a few years of just excess HDB flats, and things were just going sideways, very little interest. In fact, right after SARS 2003, young home buyers could go to HDB and they will give you 5 sets of keys, and you can already open up and look at the unit, then choose the one that you want, pay up and move in very quickly because of the downturn in the market, recession then. After that, they slowed down all the building, and then prices started to go up as HDB relaxed the rules for renting out HDB flats. And so from this point onwards, there are many HDB flats. Right now, there are 60,000 HDB flats that are approved for whole flat rental. So people are using HDB flats as an investment today, which public policy-wise, I disagree, is actually wrong. But then, even during Lehman crisis, there was only 1/4 of a drop in HDB resale flat prices because of using HDB as a rental. Many of the people could actually go and buy a second property, keep the HDB and continue to rent out. And therefore, in the resale market, there are few resale because HDB is cheap, the rent gives you a 10% ROI, right? So HDB flat prices continue to go up. Borrowing got cooling measures using the mortgage servicing ratio, and so HDB prices flattened off again. And then after that, post-SARS, post-COVID, suddenly prices shot up. So prices are at all-time high now. And within the last 4 to 6 weeks, we are seeing, my colleague Christine is here with me, we are still active property agents working mainly on Singapore market, but also promoting Japanese properties. But we are seeing a big slowdown in the number of telephone calls and inquiries for renting as well as for buy-sell. So looks like the jobs market, the technology sector, the banking and the trade and supply chain issues now are dampening Singapore market quite a bit. So try to take advantage of this very high valuations today. Okay, so these are just supplementary things that I put in to say, to highlight that only 64% of active CPF members have hit the required retirement sum. The other 36% are still not able to hit the retirement sum. So the lease buyback scheme is one method for helping the post 65-year-old person to top up the HDB. So what are the next steps? If you listen to this and you think that you are keen, or maybe one of your relatives or your cousin, your uncle should consider this lease buyback scheme, first step is go and have a meeting, make an inquiry with HDB. If you were to sell 20 years of lease back to HDB, what might be the price? What might be the value that they will give back to you for your HDB flat? After you understand how much they will pay you for the 25 years or 30 or 20, and of course when they reply to you, if you are not eligible for it, they will tell you you are not eligible because of what. Once you know that you are eligible, they tell you for 25 years of sale back, I'll give you X 100,000. Then the next step is give Elijah a call. Because what are you going to do with that 200,000? How much of that 200,000 will be used to top up CPF? We got to count that. After the top up of the CPF, what will you get every month? And then after that top up of CPF, you can take the rest out in cash, but not all. They only limit your cash out at $100,000. After your cash out of $100,000, any additional amount go back into CPF, which means then your CPF will pay you even more per month. So there are so many moving parts. You call HDB, you get a number. After that, you call Elijah, we work out the numbers together. Then the extra cash of 100,000, what do you want to do with it? You want to put it into annuity, or you just want to buy a Singapore government bond that will pay you the interest? So there are many things to consider. Then after that, you proceed with the plan. So it is not one person's work, it is several persons who has to come together to help you make the decision and then execute the next steps. Okay, so I'm an author of 7 books. This was my book 6. 7th book is a textbook, so I'm not really encouraging you to spend time reading textbooks. Otherwise, if you want to get in touch with me, I've got a Telegram group where I update about property market or investments. I've got LinkedIn, I've got the YouTube channel. Okay, that's all from me today. We are happy to send you the slides. I'll let Elijah talk about what to do with the money.
Okay, yes, thanks so much, Prof. Poo, for this sharing. I'm pretty sure everyone learned quite a bit about the HDB Lease Buyback Scheme. So actually for all these social media that Prof. Poo has, I will dispatch through your FCs. And of course, if you want to have a meeting with HDB and then you got a number and then you want to meet your own financial consultants, by all means please do so. Okay, it does help you make a good decision. But before that, Prof. Poo, before you go, I think there might be some questions from the ground that wants to ask you some questions. Yeah, basically.
No problem.
No, yeah. So
Please ask.
any questions for now? Any questions about the HDB Lease Buyback Scheme? So far, don't have. Yes, there? Okay, yes.
Can I ask, if let's say the older flats, you were saying that there's a graph down there, and they said lesser people will buy, but what is the probability of the government were to do en bloc since those flats are very old.
Yeah. So if you don't sell and you don't take advantage of this lease buyback scheme, then unfortunately you would have to suffer the depreciation because fewer and fewer young people are eligible to buy your flat with the maximum loan and maximum CPF usage. So the price drop and depreciation is partly influenced by the shrinking of the resale market for you. So then you bet on SIRS. With SIRS, there may be a payout to get you to move to the new flat, and then you get a new flat that is 99 years fresh lease, and there is a compensation of a few $1,000s for relocation for your inconveniences. So question then is, this is like playing with options already lah. What happens if you don't get SIRS? If you don't get SIRS, within the next 5 years, your flat valuation will go down further. Or within the next 10 years, your flat valuation will go down further. What happens if you only get SIRS in 7 years from today? 7 years from today, your flat valuation goes down even more. And when they do SIRS at that time, they are compensating you based on your then flat valuation, which is even lower already. And then the replacement flat, and we saw this last year with the Ang Mo Kio discussion, the replacement flat may require you to top up more money to get the replacement flat. So when you are 75 and then you are facing I need to top up another 20,000 in order to enjoy that new flat with a fresh 99-year lease, and you have got to wait 4 or 5 years for them to construct, and then between 75 years age and 80, what are you doing? You have to pray that the cash flow is still steady and that I don't get a bout of illness. So too many ifs. That's why I recommend take advantage of the lease buyback scheme at the high valuation in today's market.
So if, let's say you sell back once this lease buyback, you sell back HDB, if there's a SIR, you're no longer eligible for the SIR compensation.
You are not eligible for that SIRS compensation, but they will still compensate you based on the remaining value. It's the same as if you took the lease buyback scheme and then 2 years later you pass on. So you sell 30 years of lease back to the HDB, the remaining is 30 years, you survive for another 2 years, the remaining 28 years is the value that they will compensate to your beneficiaries, whatever is on your will. Yeah. So it is not zero value, at least.
Why is it that when we lease buyback, the sum of money or to go back must buy CPF life?
Yeah, so that is the law. No, I mean, that
But
is
the
the
minimum
rule.
requirement is the
Yeah.
basic retirement sum. Only
Correct.
Basic.
Basic retirement sum, not full retirement sum,
right? So
which is
basic is the
even
lower
higher.
category.
Yeah, basic is the lower tier.
But for people who have fully satisfied the retirement sum, the CPF, so everything is covered.
100,000 will come to you. Anything in excess of the 100,000 cash that you take would have to still go back to CPF.
Go back here, I mean, if we have already.
Already meet the requirement sum already
We
still.
are meeting the requirement. We don't owe the CPF anything, right? Top up.
They are afraid that you might take the money and run away to Batam to have too many karaoke.
Ordinary account and all that. Let's say the retirement already full, we already. So the rest goes to the retirement account, special account. I mean, sorry, ordinary account or whatever.
Retirement account.
Retirement account. We all go to retirement again.
But you have 100,000 cash, husband has 100,000 cash, wife has 100,000 cash.
I can take out, right, the RA once it's filled.
Once you top up the CPF, then you can apply to withdraw lah.
So once you top up the RA, then you can actually withdraw out in cash.
Monthly, that is monthly.
I thought recently the government already said that they are going to kind of like reduce the SIRS. I mean they're not really going to do
Okay.
this SIRS thing, right?
So those of you who know me long enough, you know that I got into a little bit of unhappiness with them talking about HDB and how HDB should rebuild and all that, right? So the government does have money. Our estimate is every year if the government took out $2 billion, they can confirm that every HDB flat will get searched. Just 2 billion. And we have got so many new plots of land, Greater Southern Waterfront, Paya Lebar Air Base, we can actually easily move you like, you know, when we were young, we were playing with that 16 box with shift square around. I can move one batch from Marine Parade to Greater Southern Waterfront, then I redevelop Marine Parade, I move the next batch from Telok Blangah to Marine Parade. Sort of shifting around like that. With $2 billion of budget a year, we can actually serve the entire 1.1 million, and then we schedule everybody. If yours is a 1975 flat, yours will get served here. If yours is 1980s flat, yours will get served then. And so make it clear for everybody. But right now they are unclear about everything for everybody.
Yeah, and the fact that they actually say it out that, you know, they are going to cut down on the search.
Maybe it is because it will help win some votes if you vote for me lah. Then this district becomes SIRS law. So I don't know, that's why, I mean, as a Singaporean and as a taxpayer, I find that it is a little bit unfair. We should give more certainty, especially to our older folks.
So we managed for couples who are purchasing a flat right now, right? Like last time we had the option to choose like how much do you want to use from your CPF or cash. But now is it the situation that they have no choice but to wipe out their CPF first?
No.
They still can.
Of course. I would still recommend that you try to use more cash and let your CPF grow. Because I regretted my own decision when I was younger. I wiped out CPF. In fact, when the company pay me bonus at the end of the year and extra bonus is topped up into CPF, I wiped that out as well to reduce the principal repayment. And then by the time I'm 50 years old, I look back, I earned from CPF the 25 years that I didn't have money in the CPF. I actually failed to earn 100 over thousand of interest that CPF would have given to me. Bodoh. Regret. At 50 years old, then regret. So, what can you do to recover that $100,000?
And the problem now is that if you now sell it, you got to put back that interest.
It was only when I sold my property that I put back the interest that I realized that I failed to earn so much of it. And that's why the regret. Yeah. So I don't want my younger students to go out to the world and then 30 years from today they say, oh, last time Yong told me this, I never listened. Yeah.
Okay, so a good question on the CPF Life BRS thing just now, right? So like, I give a quick scenario, like, my mother is like BRS, like my father is like FRS or like ERS or something for the retirement scheme. They want to exit the property 600K in like 4 years. So they're not gonna get back everything in cash, right? Like what's gonna happen to the money?
How much did they use?
It's like HDB. They are like PRs.
Oh, so they didn't use CPF to buy the HDB last time?
I think they use, so there's like definitely like accrued interest and stuff like that.
But because once you are past 65 years old, even though you sell the flat, the amount that is used from CPF got to go back into CPF, but you can then subsequently next day withdraw everything else that is in excess of the
BRS?
full retirement sum.
Okay, who is like FRS?
Full retirement sum. Basic retirement sum is only if you have still got the property and you pledge back your property to them. So
I
both
see.
of them will have to have their full
FRS.
Yeah.
Okay, so have you like divide down both and then any excess they get the cash. Yeah, then they can go part time and sing karaoke. Okay.
That's the danger that government always say they want to protect us from. Don't
From
go
running
to
away.
Hajjai to
So, okay.
sing karaoke and then waste up all
Okay.
your money. Yeah.
And okay, thank you. Interesting.
So another way, yes, can it be said that because, like for example, you sell back now, due to previously it was the loan was serviced by CPF and all that. So now when you sell, you have to put back that money with interest. So
So then
should
next
I
day
say that?
you can take out already,
Yeah.
because you have crossed the FRS.
Yeah, but what if it comes to the scenario that the amount that you have to put back and all that, and eventually you don't have much left and all that. So can I do a migrate lah? Then can I get all the money out?
You need to get citizenship in the other country, renounce citizenship here, then you can withdraw.
And then I can take everything.
Then it's 100% you can pick up, yeah. Correct. Or if you love the 2.5% interest, you can still keep it here while you are a foreigner. There are foreigners who are keeping CPF money in Singapore. Yeah.
So for this lease back, right, the house must be paid up, right? Like cannot have loans.
Can have loan,
Oh.
but the first tranche of money will be used to wipe out the
The
loan
loan
first.
first, okay.
Yeah.
Understood.
Okay, let's listen to Elijah tell you how you should spend your money other than in Hat Yai and Batam.
Okay, so I shall not use